So it's 2022 and you are ready to start your Teachers Pay Teachers store. I'm going to be talking to you about the 5 things that you need to know when starting your Teachers Pay Teachers store in 2022. Number 5 is by far the biggest one, and it includes one of the most common mistakes that new sellers make when they're first starting out. So you want to make sure you stick around for that. Let's get started. We're going to dive right in. The very first thing that you need in order to start your Teachers Pay Teachers store is to create a seller account. Now, this is really simple. I'm going to link right up here to a video where I have walked you through how to do this before. So if you want to see a step-by-step tutorial on how to create a seller account from a buyer account, it's going to walk you through that and the different types of seller accounts and just get all of that great information in there. But you need to create a seller account. So this part is really, really simple. It's step 1 and it's a great way to get the ball rolling. Just go ahead and create that seller account. Don't worry about whether or not you're going to be a premium seller just yet. You can focus on that a little bit more later on, but for the beginning, just go ahead and create that seller account. Okay? Easy enough. Let's roll in with number 2. Number 2 is that you want to choose your specialization. Now, a lot of people, when they talk about this, they refer to it as your niche, which is true. It is a niche, but I think niche kind of makes it sound a little too broad, okay? One of the most common mistakes that I hear when TPT sellers first start off is you ask them, what is your niche? And they either don't know or they give you a really broad answer. Like they'll say, I create kindergarten resources. So do thousands of other teachers, okay? Or they'll say, I create resources for middle school history. That's amazing, but that's a little too broad. So when I'm talking about a niche or a specialization, I'm talking about what do you specialize in inside of the grade level or the subject, the content that you teach, okay? So in general, unless it's a niche or a market that's not very saturated, like let's say you're a PE teacher, okay, not very saturated, or you're a high school biology teacher, right? Those markets are not very saturated, and so you can be a little bit more broad in those markets. But if you're moving into a market that's a little bit more competitive or a little bit more saturated, then what we want to do is we want to find a way to make ourselves stand out in the very beginning by deciding on what are we going to specialize within that area, within that niche, within that grade level, okay? And so one of the best ways to do this, let's say you are a kindergarten teacher. Obviously, kindergarten teaches all subjects, so maybe you want to start by specializing in one of those subjects. Maybe you want to start with kindergarten math and specifically helps for creating hands-on math resources for kindergarten students and teachers, okay? So that would be a very specific specialization. You are specializing in creating hands-on math activities and resources for kindergarten, okay? Another example of this might be that you are specifically creating resources for 5th grade ESL students and teachers. Okay, so a specialization within a grade level or subject area. This does not have to be a complicated specialization. It can be something really simple. And if you're having a hard time deciding on what that specialization is going to be for you, because you might just say, well, I'm a 6th grade English teacher, or I'm an 8th grade history teacher, or I'm a 4th grade science teacher. What specific need can I meet in the market? Think about the conversations that are happening around you inside of the classroom every day. What are you hearing students struggle with? And what are you hearing your peers struggle with? What are other teachers inside of your field struggling with? Are they struggling with making accommodations for ESL students? Are they struggling with making accommodations for special ed students? Are they struggling with finding engaging resources for your subject area? What are you seeing in the classroom and what are you hearing from your peers outside of the classroom? If you can find a way to meet those needs, then you have a specialization to bring to the market. Okay, so this doesn't have to be complicated, and it doesn't mean that you have to stick with this forever. So let's say that I'm the kindergarten teacher who's going to focus specifically on hands-on math activities for kindergarten. That doesn't mean that later on I can't branch out. You absolutely can. But by starting with a specialization, it's going to allow me to help build up a loyal customer base. It's going to help me get more followers on TPT because they're going to come to my store and they're going going to see if they find something that they like inside of the TP2 search engine, or if they find me through Pinterest, or they find me through social media. If they find me and they find my product and then they come to my store, they're going to see I have a lot more products like that one product that they were really interested in. And so that's going to lead to more followers, which is going to lead to repeat buyers, which is going to lead to more money and more success on Teachers Pay Teachers. And that's what I want. So by starting off super specific, it doesn't mean that I can't get more broad later on. In fact, that's what we're going to want to do. But it's going to allow me to build up that loyal customer base and really establish myself as a seller on Teachers Pay Teachers right out of the gate, which is what I want. This is also going to help me keep my focus as I'm creating resources, so I'm not jumping around from topic to topic, subject to subject, which is going to help me turn out more products faster, and it's going to help me build my following faster, like we talked about before. Number 3, let's talk about being strategic with your investments. Now, it doesn't take a lot of money to sell on TPT. In fact, you can start your store with $0 and 0 cents. And if that's the route you want to take, that is totally fine, but you will find yourself having to get creative here and there. When I first started my TPT store, every dollar in my pocket was precious, and I was really, really careful with what I spent it on. The first thing that I had to spend it on was PowerPoint. So one of the things that you want to invest in, if you don't already have a software program like PowerPoint, then you want to go ahead and invest in that and go ahead and purchase a software for creating your products. Please do not use Microsoft Word. I'm going to suggest Canva or PowerPoint or InDesign from Adobe, or even like Keynote if you're on a Mac. I'm going to suggest one of those things, or even Google Slides, okay? But you want to make sure that you are investing in a software that you want to use long term. Okay, so you don't want to start off just saying, well, I'm going to create my resources in the free version of Canva because it's free, or I'm going to create my resources in Google Slides because it's free. And then later on find yourself being more and more limited, but all of the templates for all of your products are in this other software, and then having to kind of start all over and start from scratch with learning a new software. Microsoft PowerPoint is fairly inexpensive. It's very cost effective for their monthly membership. So I recommend, if you are going to invest in a software, PowerPoint would be my number one recommendation. It's the one that most TPT sellers use, and it's pretty intuitive for most sellers, so it doesn't have a very steep learning curve. But go ahead and invest in a software program so that you're not finding yourself being limited with what you're able to create by your pocketbook, okay? So invest in your software. Another thing that I would invest in would be a way to flatten your resources. So if you're selling PDF resources, then you want to make sure that those resources are flattened and secured with a password. Now, this password is there to protect people from editing. And the main 2 resources that you're going to find sellers use for this are going to be Flatpak from Bearwood Labs, which is currently running about $65, and it's a flat fee, and Adobe Acrobat Pro. Now, Adobe Acrobat Pro has so many different options available for business, for educators, for students. So there are different price points. I'm currently paying about $36 a month for Adobe, which is a little bit steep. So I would recommend, if you are going to be using PowerPoint to create your resources, I would recommend going ahead and buying Flatpak. It's super simple. It's a one-time cost, and it's going to allow you, if you're creating PDF resources, to quickly and simply flatten and secure, password protect your documents against being edited. And it's a really great investment that you're going to be able to use forever. And I found it to be the most cost-effective way to secure your resources. If you are not going to do that and you're not going to password protect your resources, then what you want to make sure, because you can flatten them for free by just turning them into images and then taking those images and converting those images into a PDF. You can do that for free. If you're creating in PowerPoint or Canva or whatever resource or whatever software that you're using to create your resources in, you can just go in and you can save as PNG images, and then you can go to smallpdf.com and you can convert those PNG images into a PDF document, and that's going to make sure your resource is flattened, which is going to protect from a lot of copying of the text and things like that. It's going to give you some protections. But what you want to make sure is, if you go that route and you don't put a password on it, then you want to make sure that you are checking your clip artists or font artists terms of use to make sure that they allow for that, because some of them are going to require that your work is password protected. So you just want to double check and make sure before you're purchasing any clip art or any fonts, make sure that you are going to be good if you use those fonts or those clip arts. Okay. Another thing that I would invest in would be fonts and clip art. You can buy a set of fonts for probably $6 on TPT, and you can buy sets of clip art for anywhere between $6 and $12. And a single set can get you several different things. So I can buy a set of clip art frames and page borders for my resources to make them look polished and professional for under $10. I can buy a set of fonts that is going to help my resources look more branded for under $10. And so for about $20 or less, I can get a kind of a starter pack to get started on my resources. Now, you will also find that there are some free fonts and some free clip art out there available for commercial use. MG Fonts, Math and Glitter Fonts, I'll link to her website down below. She has free fonts for commercial use that are absolutely beautiful. And so if you're looking for a free set, you can get started there. And you can always search TPT and to find free clip art that is available for commercial use if you're looking for some free options, okay? But be very strategic with your investments. I wouldn't spend a whole lot of money straight out the gate. I would just go ahead and get started with the small things that you absolutely need to have, okay? All right, let's talk about number 4. And this is creating your first 2 resources. Now, your very first resource on Teachers Pay Teachers has to be a free resource. And so when we are creating that free resource, we want to be really strategic with it because because you're probably a buyer on Teachers Pay Teachers, a lot of times you go to TPT and what do? You search for the topic that you want, and then you go over into the filters and you filter by what's free, right? Lots of buyers do this. And so they'll start off by looking for a free resource. And so that is where you're going to be able to get some exposure is with your free resource. And so what we don't want to do is we don't want to just slap a freebie up there. That's what I did. I had a game that I had created for the classroom and I was like, this probably wouldn't sell very well. And so I slapped that up as my freebie, and it was my freebie for quite a while, and it was not very good. And it wasn't a very accurate representation of the type of products that I create. And so one of the things that freebie did is it did get some downloads. It did get me some exposure, but it wasn't good exposure. It wasn't the kind of exposure that was going to bring people back for more, right? Because it wasn't that good. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to be really strategic and really purposeful with our freebie. And so one of the things that you can do is you can go ahead and get started by creating a line of resources. So let's say that I have a certain activity that my students really love, and I've created that activity for them. One of the things that I can do is I can just start to create that activity for different topics within my specialization, within my niche, and I can create it for all of those different topics. So one of them could be my freebie, and then the next one can be my first paid resource, because we are not throwing a freebie up in our TPT store without putting a paid resource up. We are sure not. We are going to make sure that we are giving ourselves the opportunity to make money on Teachers Pay Teachers with that paid resource. And so what we're going to do is we're going to be strategic. We are going to create a freebie that is very similar to our paid resource. What this means is anyone who grabs our freebie from our store, we can point them to our paid resource as well. If you love this resource and you want more, go follow my store or go check out these other resources that are very similar. I can link to those similar resources, or I can link to my paid resource inside of the product description of my free resource. Looking for more activities like this, check out this resource over here. And I can direct traffic and I can let buyers know this thing that you like and this thing that you're interested in, I got more, okay? And so that's going to make my freebie really purposeful, because anybody who downloads that freebie and enjoys that freebie, they're also going to like my paid resources too, which means that if they come to my store, they're going to see more of what they love, which means they're more likely to hit that follow button, which means they're more likely to come back and buy some more for me. And that's what I want. So we're going to be really strategic with those first 2 products that we put out. And we're going to make sure that we are creating a freebie, that we are offering a freebie that is similar to other resources that we are going to have in our store. All right, let's talk about number 5. This is the one that is so important that a lot of TPT sellers overlook, and that is focus on your Teachers Pay Teachers strategies before you start marketing elsewhere. All right, now, some people are going to hear this and they're going to disagree with me, and they're going to say, no, you should start marketing on day 1. Well, let me tell you something. Your time is valuable as a teacher, okay? If you're trying to learn how to create quality resources, how to create covers, and how to create previews that are going to catch the eye of your buyer, how to optimize your listings to get found inside of the search engine, how to write a product description, how to market your resources on Instagram, and how to market them on Facebook, and how to create pins, and how to do email marketing. If I'm trying to learn all of that at one time, guess what? I am creating a recipe for stress and overwhelm, and we don't have time for that in our business, okay? So do not put too much on your plate as a brand new seller. If you focus on TPT strategies before you focus on marketing your TPT products, this is going to allow you to grow your store strategically. It's going to allow you to grow your store in a way that's going to be less stressful and in a way that's going to be less overwhelming, and it's going to allow you to be more focused on some of the really important things in the beginning. Okay, so let's talk about what I mean by TPT strategies. TPT strategies would be things like optimizing your covers, optimizing your previews, optimizing your product descriptions, and search engine optimization, meaning optimizing your product listings so that you are more likely to be found by the TPT search engine, okay? Those are really big and really important things for success on Teachers Pay Teachers, okay? And not only is it going to allow me to really focus on those things without having to learn new marketing strategies and techniques and spending time, valuable time, marketing strategies and techniques, but it's also going to ensure that when I do start marketing, I have products that are going to sell, okay? So let me give you an example. If I have a product that the cover is really ugly and the preview doesn't accurately describe what my product is, and it just kind of is slapped up there, and I'm not doing a good job of selling my product with my preview or catching the buyer's eye with my cover, when I go to market that product and I'm spending time, energy, and maybe even money directing traffic to those resources, guess what I'm doing? Kind of wasting my time. Because if I'm sending traffic to products that are not optimized to catch my buyer's attention and get them to add to cart, then I am wasting my time in marketing because I'm going to have to work so much harder on the marketing end to get the buyer to purchase once they get there and see the resource, okay? So I don't want to spend my time doing all of that unless I have optimized my listing on TPT. Let me tell you another reason that you want to be able to focus on this. If I am focusing on optimizing my listings on TPT, then what I'm doing is I'm focusing on the passive income part of my business, okay? So if I have to take a couple of weeks off of Teachers Pay Teachers to focus on my classroom or my family or whatever it is that's going on in my life, if I have optimized my product listing on Teachers Pay Teachers, then I still have buyers who are able to find me. But if I'm putting all of my eggs in the marketing basket and I'm focusing on using marketing to drive traffic versus search engine optimization and product listing optimization to get that traffic from TPT search, then anytime I take off work from my business, if I'm not marketing my products, guess what? My products aren't selling. Okay? This is not to say that if you do everything right, that all of your income is just going to be passive and everybody's going to find you in TPT search. That's not necessarily true. And marketing is very important and it has its place in your business. I'm just saying, don't put that first. Focus on really learning about what makes a great cover, what makes a great preview, what search engine optimization is. Focus on learning those things about your product and really perfecting that aspect of your business before you start focusing your time, energy, and efforts into driving traffic from outside sources. And if you want to learn more about how to optimize your covers, optimize your previews, and optimize your product descriptions, I've got some really great resources, free resources linked for you down in the description. But if you want to learn about everything all in one place, if you're like, your head is spinning right now and you're like, well, wait a second, what is search engine optimization exactly? How do I write a product description? If you want a resource that is going to be able to teach you step by step how to start your Teachers Pay Teachers store at a cost that you don't have to budget for, I got the perfect resource for you. I created a resource for people who are brand new to selling on TPT or who haven't even opened their store yet. And that is Selling on TPT 101. This is a very budget-friendly, information-packed course course that gives you everything that you need to know to start selling on Teachers Pay Teachers today. And in fact, I don't just tell you information and I don't just talk to you. I give you templates so that you can get started right now. I give you templates for creating your covers, for creating your previews, for creating product descriptions. I give you templates for creating your store banners and creating your store quote boxes and more. And you get access to a Facebook group community where you can ask me questions and ask questions from other people who are in the same place as you. So if you want more information on that, click the link inside of the description. I put out videos every single week for TPT sellers to help them grow their businesses. Subscribe to this channel and go ahead and like this video if you found it helpful. If you have more questions about Selling 101, just drop a comment down into the comment section below. I would love to answer those for you. I will see you in the next video.